Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to give some more feedback, this time on Hieu's speaking test. So let's check it out. Good evening, my name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Trần Trung Hieu. And you
And-
can call me. Yes.
I think just a bit of a connection problem there. What should I call you?
You can call me Hieu.
Okay, thank you, Hieu. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Do you work or do you study?
Now I'm currently a sophomore at the commercial trading university located in Hanoi capital. It can be said that this is the famous university.
Okay, too much development, too much extension here. The question is, do you work? Think of it in a normal everyday situation, right? If somebody asks you like, oh, do you work or do you study? You'd probably say, oh, I'm a student. I'm studying at university. That's probably the natural response. If you're meeting somebody for the first time and they ask you, do you work or you study, you probably wouldn't say, I am a sophomore at university. And it can be said that university is very famous because it is situated in the city center of Hanoi, which is the capital. All of that extra information. Of course, it's tricky for candidates because on the one hand, teachers tell them, develop your answers, don't give short answers, develop. But also we don't want to overdevelop. We don't want to give any extra unnecessary details.
In my country.
And what subject are you studying?
My major related to English.
My major is related to English, but also what is your major? Okay, you say it's related to English, but what is your major? Is it like English language? Is it English literature? Is it applied linguistics? Is it teaching English as a second language?
So I think that's a big change for me to practice English, and especially for the IELTS exam.
So we get the practice English and the IELTS exam. So we know that many people in East Asia and especially Southeast Asia have huge problems when it comes to these final consonants, especially if it's something like IELTS, which has a L to S, IELTS. Those consonant clusters are notoriously difficult for people from Southeast Asia. Chant to practice my IELTS, but it isn't enough. You have to work on that. And why did you decide to study this subject?
Because don't is unlikely to other subject like math.
So it's a bit of confusion, a bit of conflict in the candidate. We don't want answers to be at the beginning. Just notice it here. And why did you decide to study this subject?
Because don't is.
So the first answer we get is because I don't and that's we want to make sure. Take a breath, relax. I know it's if you're nervous and somebody tells you to relax, it doesn't help. I know. If somebody tells you to calm down when you're nervous, it doesn't help. If somebody tells you not to be nervous, it doesn't help. Maybe take a breath, think about what you want to say, and say it. I don't know if that's helpful.
Unlikely to other subject like math or literature, I have preferred to study English. So when
So it mentions I guess I infer, I guess that he's saying that he doesn't like maths or something else, and that's why he's studying English. But I still feel like there should be a reason why it's English and not something else.
I make a decision about which major I have to study.
So I have to say, pronunciation does put an enormous strain on the listener. I have to work very hard to piece together what the candidate is saying. I don't understand every word. I don't understand every syllable. I have to hear words like cha to practice ayer. And I go, okay, cha to practice. Okay, practice is probably practice. Ayer is probably IELTS. And so chant or change is probably chance. So I have to do that work. I have to fill in the missing bits of information because this pronunciation really is putting a strain.
I choose English. That's maybe the strength subject, and I prefer to study it.
Okay, so we get a lot, the candidate is talking at length, but he's not really saying anything. I still don't know why he chose English. And what would you like to do when you finish studying?
Or I'm not sure about my career path, but
Cool, I like that. I'm not sure about my career path.
actually that I prefer to work as a teacher
Maybe I would prefer to work as a teacher.
or maybe a English teacher in the
A teacher or maybe an English teacher. Well, English teachers are kinds of teachers, so I don't know about all. I don't know.
future. So, or maybe I will study PhD
PhD again. I guess he's saying PhD.
to become a translator to for a business or a company.
Okay, so we get a few ideas. Maybe an English teacher, maybe a translator. Fair enough. Let's talk about your childhood now. What's your happiest memory from childhood?
Or when become a child, are the memory.
Again, when become a chise the
I
memory.
have a lot of moment of happiness
When become a chise the memory, I have a lot of moment of happiness. So it's so odd. I mean, the candidate is speaking on the sentence level. We do get subjects and verbs and objects, but it's so difficult to piece together because there are so many phrases. I guess he's saying like, oh, when I have to think about being a child, then and we often call this padding, this like putting bits of information at the front before we answer a question. Many candidates who suffer with fluency try to take this strategy. When you ask someone, what kind of music do you like? Normal answer would be say the kind of music, give the reason why, or give an example, right? What kind of music do you like? Oh, I like classic rock music. I think my favorite band is probably Led Zeppelin. I don't know why. I just love this like mix of rock and blues. I think it works really well, and the singer's voice is just perfect. That's a good answer. Direct, example, reasons. Padding is something different, right? Padding is where you give sometimes memorized expressions. You put those at the beginning before you give your answer because you're trying to maybe buy time. So, what kind of music do you like? Oh, music. When I think of music, there are so many things that I can think about because music, I think, is one of the most important things in the world. And I think everyone should listen to music. But, there are different types of music. And I think that my favorite music is rock music. We don't like so much of this padding at the beginning. And I feel a little bit like the candidate is padding here. Just listen again. What's your happiest memory from childhood?
or when become a child are the memory. I have a lot of moment of happiness, but actually that the last I can remember that uh, I was given a present by my mother
So we get a lot of padding, and then I was given a present by my mother. Okay, I was given a present by my mother, past simple passive. Also, it has two objects. Cool, good stuff, but I don't like the padding before.
at my birthday. Uh, as I remember that either I were grade six, so I think
I were grade six. I was in grade six. So prepositions, sometimes that can be an identifier too between like a candidate who's lower level and higher level. I don't just mean getting prepositions right. That's difficult for all levels of English. But sometimes candidates at lower levels, they just don't use prepositions at all. So, of course, in English, we use prepositions for a number of different reasons. The most common or most basic ones are prepositions of time. When did you do it? Like at the weekend, last week, or in the morning, or at night. We also have prepositions of place, like next to, under, by, in. And sometimes candidates just don't use them. Oh, I did it grade six instead of like in grade six or when I was in grade six. Yeah.
that's the most happiness about my memory.
Again, we go back to padding here. We don't have any idea what that present was. We don't really know why this was a happy memory for the candidate. We just get a lot of padding. My mother gave me a gift, or I was given a gift by my mother, and then a bit more padding at the end.
Of the happiness.
Uh-huh. And who were some of your best friends in childhood?
Or actually that at childhood we have many friends. We could play with each other, and but I to pick a person who was my best friend is our Ling, who was my neighbor, and we could easily share the maybe the candy, the cake,
Candies?
are to each other when we have,
Share something with somebody, but okay.
and we are on way to chat with each other in the
Now
free time,
we always are talk with each other. Is that what he said?
and we are on way to
We always to talk. And again, this use of infinitive sometimes, English has, I guess, four moods. We have the indicative, the infinitive, the subjunctive, and the imperative. And sometimes students just, if in doubt, they just use the infinitive, right? What do you do in your free time? Oh, I to play football in my free time. Or what did you do yesterday? I to go for a walk yesterday. We don't use infinitives in that way. And so we to talk with each other every day, that's not how we use infinitives.
chat with each other in the
Now,
free time.
now let's talk about gifts. Do you enjoy giving or receiving gifts?
And just because I think that is
Okay, now we get a direct answer and a because. Cool.
maybe the high present, or maybe our honor to each other,
Our honor to each other? I'm not quite sure I get that.
like in such as in our someone birthday, you can
Someone's birthday, again, possessives, a very basic element of English. How we express possessives. Of course, we don't have a case system, so, well, maybe this apostrophe S is a type of possessive case. Someone's birthday. Someone's birthday, not just someone birthday. It's very basic.
prepare a present, like a notebook, a pen, or handmade gift to each other, and I think that is meaningful to get a gift for each other, and I think that it will become a milestone or moment of happiness when they receive our gift.
Okay, so we've had a moment of happiness, I think, 2 or 3 times now. The answer, yes, he likes giving or receiving gifts, especially something like pens or something like this. Didn't really get why, but it brings happiness. Okay. And in what situations do people usually give gifts in your country?
Yes, as I said earlier, that they will give a gift for each other, like
Give gifts to each other.
in a birthday party, or maybe there's someone or special event such as celebrity or
Celebrity? What are these events?
celebrity, or maybe the either they will
The Eider? Maybe Eid? I'm not quite sure. Maybe they're holidays that I've never heard of. Let's see.
in a birthday party, or maybe there's someone or special event such as celebrity, or maybe the either
Celebrili or maybe the Eider. So be careful with this. If you're mentioning cultural things that, the examiner might not know about, you paraphrase, explain what those things are, right? I'm from Wales, and one of our famous days is Dydd Santes Dwynwen. And this is a kind of a day. It's like a day for lovers. It's kind of similar to Valentine's Day, but I don't know. For me, it just feels a bit sweeter, right? I wouldn't just say Dydd Santes Dwynwen and expect everybody to know what Dydd Santes Dwynwen is, or Dydd Gwyl Dewi, because you are not Welsh, you don't speak Welsh, you don't know what these holidays are. And so if I mention Dydd Gwyl Dewi or Dydd Santes Dwynwen, I have to explain what those things are for my interlocutor, the person who I'm speaking to, for them to understand what I mean.
they will give the gift for the idol in their concerts such as.
They will give the gift for either in the contour, such as. Again, I just don't know what the candidate is saying. Sorry. And have you ever made a gift for someone?
Or actually, yeah, I had
Okay, so the candidate is answering questions more directly now. That's good to see.
made or handmade gift for my best friend at her birthday party. As also, it was not a big gift, but I
Is we're not, even basic things like it. Candidate really has a very limited phonological range. So even basic sounds like t, the candidate just can't get them. It.
actually that I prepare an odd are at the notebook and the pen for her. So
I don't know, notebook and a pen that you prepared. Is that handmade? Is that making a gift? I don't know. Maybe you can make a notebook and a pen. Not sure, but
uh,
okay.
she was very happy and excited to when receive
And also excited and happy, those are words that are commonly overused by lower level users of English. Oh, she was happy and excited, just giving the adjectives. I'm not saying that you can't use those words, and certainly high level learners do that too. I use the word happy and excited, but they tend to be overused by lower levels.
my gift.
Okay, thank you.
Now,
All right, so thoughts on part one. Some of the candidate answers I didn't like, the padding at the beginning and then the answer, but there were a few answers where the candidate answered directly and then attempted to develop. I'm not sure how successful the development was because the pronunciation is getting in the way of everything, and so I can't really say that the candidate is able to develop answers fully because I just don't know. I have a big problem with the coherence. I don't can't follow the candidate's idea because that pronunciation gets in the way. There's also, with the hesitations, there's a lot of this sound, and sometimes I'm not sure if it's part of a word or if it's part of just a hesitation sound, right? Like if you say, what do you do in your free time? I play football. That's a hesitation sound. But when he says things like, oh yeah, they give presents for either, and I don't know if is that hesitation sound or not. So yeah, difficulty there. Some good bits of vocab like my career path, and attempts to use the basic language is fine, basic vocab is fine, and there are some attempts to use less common lexes. We'll see how he does with that in the future. In terms of grammar, you know he speaks at the sentence level, no doubt about that, although sometimes there are just random words and phrases thrown in there. The use of like verb forms is quite weak, where sometimes the candidate just uses infinitives or something like this. Yeah, some odd choices, but the most notable thing, of course, is pronunciation. It can just affect every aspect of your language because I just can't follow so many of the ideas. I'm working very hard to try to infer, to try to work out and analyze, interpret. Maybe he's saying this. I think he's saying this. This sounds a little bit like this. But as a listener here, I have to work very hard just to understand the candidate. But let's see how he does in part two. So his task here is to describe a book that had a significant impact on him. Let's go. Give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yes. Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about the book that will have a
Not gonna to talk, right? With gonna, you can use gonna. There's no problem with gonna, but gonna is a short form of going to. So we don't add that to gonna, right? So you can say I am going to talk or I'm gonna talk, but we don't say I'm gonna to talk. I'm gonna talk, and not talk you, but I'm gonna tell you or I'm gonna talk to you.
significant impact on my mind.
On my mind. Okay, gain a bit of padding. Candidate is just reading. You don't need to do this in the introduction. You don't need to say, okay, today I'm going to describe a book that had a significant impact on me. No, let me tell you about Dr. Zhivago by Boris Pasternak. Great book. Great book.
That's where his name is the impact of laziness.
Okay, cool.
And as where 6 months goes, when my
Again, as were 6 months ago. As were 6 months ago's. As. The candidate is trying to say it. It was, and it comes out as were. It's.
see I would
And again, as someone who's spoken to quite a few people from Southeast Asia and spent a little bit of time there, I can kind of work that out. I can kind of say, as were, he means it was. There might be an examiner that thinks that the candidate just isn't speaking in sentences, that the candidate is saying as were 6 months ago's. So yeah, is that a grammar mistake? Is it a pronunciation mistake? Is it both?
went back home and my sister recommend
Get sitter. We don't get sister. We get sitter.
to me this book, and I prefer to read a book to kill time. So
Okay, I prefer to read a book to kill time. Okay, I guess he's saying that's why he decided to read it. Maybe I'd still, I'm still thirsty for more details about what this book is about, right? So this book is called The Impact of Laziness, and basically it's a book that talks about, different reasons why we are lazy, and also it goes into some solutions. So, if you're a lazy person, you can read this book, and it gives you nice, simple, practical ideas, simple things like waking up early or something like this. Details about what the book was about. The candidate is just rushing through those 3 points. And he has already said that the book is called Impact of Laziness. It was recommended to him by his sister, and he read it to kill time. But now, well, okay, now you've dealt with those 3 points. Where do you go from here? Are you going straight to the last question, how it influenced you? And if so, where are you going to go after that? So if you are going to follow this approach of, you know, going through reading and answering each point, you have to stretch that out. So the book is called The Impact of Laziness, and it's about different reasons why so many of us are lazy. One interesting thing in the book, actually, is that the author says that we're not lazier today than we were in the past. A lot of people think that that's true. Anyway, so moving on to why I started reading this book. Well, right? So we want to, if we're going to go through it point by point, we want to try to extend that so we're not rushing through. So many candidates do this. They get nervous, they panic, they go through the questions really quickly, and then they just don't know what to do at the end.
I choose this book are based on my sister recommendations.
Again, my sister's recommendation, not my sister recommendations.
So as we're really exciting
As were really exciting. So again, we get this as were instead of it was. And again, we get this exciting.
at the on the first page that are because it gave me a lot of information, and each in their lesson they will give a lot of example. So are in the conclusion they
I don't know for you guys watching this if you find it easy to follow this. I find it difficult to follow.
put me a lot of meaningful lesson which help me to gain more motivation and gain more motivation in order to attain my goals in the future.
Okay, fine. Gave me motivation in order to obtain my goals in the future, but just notice the lack of detail. The candidate doesn't explain how it gave him motivation, doesn't explain what his goals are. It feels like a memorized bit of language, right? It gave me motivation in order to obtain my goals in the future. It's lacking in detail, it's generic, it could be used in almost any part two. Um, and I will not award any marks for that because I feel like that is generic language that's lacking in detail. Might seem harsh, but yeah, I just feel it's memorized.
Especially in my especially it helped me to overcome the procrastination.
Okay, it helped me to overcome the procrastination. A book about laziness could certainly do that. Good.
uh, that were really bad, especially for the young generation. So I will give the to my sister, elder sister thanks because she had recommend this book for me.
So repeating the idea that the sister recommended it
As make me as don't like a boring book, but it also can help me to overcome procrastination.
helped me to overcome procrastination. Again, a memorized bit of language reused. I liked it the first time, and when you use it word for word exactly the same, it helps me to overcome my procrastination. Um, hmm.
And especially laziness week will affected negatively on the especially in the young generation.
We've heard that before too. Okay,
So
thank you. All right, so thoughts on part two. Again, candidate struggles with pronunciation. It is difficult to understand and follow. Also, there is a problem with the candidate has to keep repeating ideas. He's going through the questions too quickly, relying on a little bit of memorized language or generic language. Like, oh, it helped to motivate me in order to obtain my goals. Well, okay. And then just repetition, who recommended it, and it helps me to overcome my procrastination. So the candidate doesn't show an ability to speak at length and develop naturally. Does speak at length, but relies on hesitations and relies on repeating ideas to do that. Again, with grammar, there are some very, very basic mistakes there. Candidate is speaking on the sentence level, probably has enough for B1, but certainly no higher. Vocab, apart from the memorized stuff, I didn't see anything really particularly impressive or particularly natural. Even a lot of basic language I heard boring and exciting, and it's okay. But yeah, let's keep going. So you've been talking about a book that had a significant impact on you. Let's move on now and talk about books in general. Why do you think people read books?
I think our people read book because they want to gain informative information on that book they are reading,
Okay, that's fair.
or maybe that they can uh, just kill time like me, as I
Okay, fine.
said earlier, or maybe that they attract a lot of knowledge or extend knowledge in the
They try a little knowledge. I don't know that last point, but okay.
future, and yeah, so
So candidate has listed 3 reasons, but hasn't gone into any of them. And I always feel like, just pick 1 or 2 reasons and then go into detail with one. I think for most people, it's about learning new things. For example, if you're interested in philosophy, you want to know what some of these great philosophical thinkers think. So what do? You read a book. Of course, you can watch things like YouTube videos and stuff to get a flavor, but I really think, reading a book really gets you into the important details. That would be better development, digging in a little bit further rather than just listing 3 reasons. And do you think books are just as popular today as they were in the past?
I now it depends on their one personal perspective, but from my perspective, I think the ebook has become popular than the book today.
That's not really the question, is it? The question is about books and reading. Maybe it's kind of connected.
They can to just take the only ebook will pop up on the phone, so
The only ebook will pop up on the phone. I don't still, this is a question about comparing reading in the past with reading in the present. And okay, it's fine to talk about ebooks, but the question is about the popularity of books and the popularity of reading. And, ebooks are still books.
they don't need to carry a lot of physical book according to you to when you need to book. So I think the book will less popular than the past.
The book will less popular than the past. Again, you can kind of work it out, can't you? And do you think ebooks will completely replace physical books in the future?
Uh, I would like to say no, because our ebooks will suitable for one maybe
Will be suitable. Again, using be before adjectives. Very basic grammar.
a group of age such as the young, or maybe the 9 to 5 hour worker. They don't have enough time.
9 to 5 worker. Again, it's like, okay, that's a nice, like, idiomatic bit of language or creative bit of language, but is it really used accurately in context?
Note, because our ebooks will suitable for one maybe a group of age such as the young, or maybe the 9 to 5 hour.
Okay, so he's saying ebooks won't replace normal books, regular books, but maybe they will be popular for a certain generation, like the young or the 9 to 5 worker. That makes sense. That's okay. I like that.
Worker that they don't have enough time to work physical book.
They don't have enough time to work physical book. I don't get that extension. I don't get that development. The 9 to 5 worker don't have enough time to work physical book. I just don't know what that means, and I'm Very sorry.
But especially for the person who like the maybe the book that they
Again, the person who likes, but
want to physical and take it my hand and take note on the paper book. So I think as ebook will not completely replace the book in the
okay, I like that. Will not completely replace the book.
future.
And maybe just one more question, because I think I already have my scores. And how can schools encourage children to read more?
That they are take initiative many promotion
They are take initiate many promotion.
for children such as when you read book you can get, after you read two books you can gain some
Okay, so we get subordination. After you read books, you can
more
get
candy
some more
or
candy.
maybe that they will can gain more plus are in their final exam such as so I think my school had promote many
My school hat promote. Just what is this hat?
that they will are can gain more plus are in their final exam such as so I think my school had promote many promotion for the children to in order to read books.
Okay, in order to read books, a good point. But I think we will leave it there because yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything more meaningful that I can add. Okay, fluency and coherence. I have to give 4 for this, and I am sorry for this, but while you do show a willingness to speak at length, you often rely on broken speech and repetition of ideas. Also, and probably more importantly, maybe I'll write more importantly, coherence suffers due to your pronunciation, making it very difficult to know whether you are addressing questions directly or not. I don't know for many of the answers. I don't know if you're answering them because I just can't work out exactly what you're saying. Lexical resource, I'm gonna maybe this is maybe I'll be okay and give the 6. Maybe I will be okay and give the 6 here. So at times you don't go into detail, and this can negatively affect your score. However, I feel like you did show enough vocab to deal with the majority of the questions, and you even attempted, and you even used, I would say, even used some less common lexes. Many of them sounded a little bit strange, a little bit out of context. I'm not counting the memorized stuff, the memorized bits of language, not much. But I think maybe there is enough lexical resource there for a 6, perhaps. Grammatical range and accuracy, I'm giving a 5 for this, and it certainly could be a 4. But in general, you have a range of sentence types. Great. However, there are basic mistakes in almost every clause. So at the clause level, understanding what a subject and a verb is, what it means when we say subjects and verbs agree, understanding the different verb forms. What is an infinitive? What is a present simple verb? What is a present continuous verb? What is a past simple verb? What is the present perfect? You don't have that. You don't show really much of that. You show a bit of modality, often with will. I think you overuse will a little bit. But yeah, in terms of accuracy, there are mistakes with everything: singular, plural, possessives, the present simple, the use and non-use of the verb to be. There are just mistakes everywhere. But I think that there was some subordination and some complex sentences there that maybe give enough score for a 5. Pronunciation, again, I have to give a 4 for this. I'm sorry. It's just too difficult to understand many of your words because of your limited phonological range. Like even words like it, you struggle to say words like it because you can't get that t as the final sound. I think probably if you use words like tomato, where t is at the beginning, or town, you're probably okay. But words where t is at the end, it comes out as s sometimes, and as were instead of it was. It's just so far from what is acceptable. So of course there are things about intonation that are a little bit weak too, but I think intelligibility, how easy it is to understand you, that's the thing that's really hurting. And so overall we get a score of 4,654. So that gives us a score of 4.5 overall, I believe. Let me just double check that. Sorry. 4, 4, 5. Yeah, that's a score of 4.5 overall, which puts you at, intermediate level, B1, and I think that probably is fair. I think probably in your head you have more English than you show when you're speaking, and I think probably in the listening test you might do okay in the listening test, but in terms of your speaking production, it's, yeah, mostly due to this pronunciation thing. So areas of improvement, it's insanely difficult, but you simply have to make improvements with your phonology. I would definitely recommend forgetting about IELTS right now and just get some pronunciation book. There are plenty of books out there that help you with pronunciation. The difficult thing that you'll find with pronunciation is training yourself not to actually unlearning, right? But you've been speaking English for a long time, and your mouth, the physical production of words, your body has got used to this, and so you'll continue to do this, and it'll feel intuitive and instinctive to produce sounds like you do, but you have to find a way to break that and to change it and to rethink pronunciation. I'm certainly not like I'm not discriminating against anybody for the accent that they have, but we have to produce acceptable phonological sounds. We have to produce acceptable pronunciation for being understood. Now, you can do this with a Vietnamese accent, with a Japanese accent, with a Peruvian accent, with a French accent. All of these accents, you can still produce acceptable phonology, but at the moment you are not producing acceptable phonology, and that is killing you. I think everything else will flow from there. I think also um, you could really benefit from using English in a natural, real world setting. It's clear to me that the type of English you use is kind of guided by your lessons that you have, or guided by strategies that your teacher gives you. And I don't know if you've had any experience of actually using English as a tool, as an instrument, as a way of getting things done, as a way of building bonds with people, of sharing a joke. Um, yeah, I think you really could benefit from that, because at the moment it just feels like, a high school student trying to get the most out of the language that they've learned without really having a contextual understanding of how that language actually works. Um, and in terms of grammar, go back to the basics with grammar. What are clauses? Right? What are clauses? What does it mean when we use a subject, a verb, and an object? What does it mean when we use an adverbial? Where do we put our adverbs? What is a preposition? What is a prepositional phrase? Where do we put them? A very basic, like A2 grammar, elementary, pre-intermediate grammar. I think that's the place where you have to go back to. You have to forget about trying to activate difficult language like 9 to 5 worker, or it helps me to overcome my problems with procrastination. I think you have to go back to the basics with those basic clauses, basic grammar, sentence structure, and so on. Yeah, so it feels a little bit negative. And again, I'm sorry, I want to add that Hugh is a wonderful person, very nice, very smiley, very open, very friendly, very, he was very gracious, very showed a lot of gratitude and thanks for giving him this test. So, of course, none of this criticism is about Hugh as a person. He's a wonderful person, very, very nice guy, and I wish him the best of luck. But for me, it's too early to think about IELTS, and some strategies need to be rethought, because at the moment he's at 4.5, which is, B1. But that's where I see him at the moment. Yeah, so I guess I'll leave that there. If you have any comments, if you think I've marked this unfairly, do let me know. Also, if you'd like to have your own free practice speaking test with feedback, you can request this on my Telegram channel. I also check IELTS writing. Probably not too many more before the end of the year, probably just 3 or 4 more coming up. But yeah, more information is on my channel, my Telegram channel. A link to that is given in the description below. But I'll leave it there for now. Have a wonderful day and see you all soon. Bye-bye.